14, what was that again? Sorry.
There's nothing.
No, nothing there, sorry. And takes us now to our business agenda item 8, and that's the Hamilton-Auckland Proposed Partnership Work Programme.
We've got Ning and
Yes.
David Hawkins and Jar.
Yeah, Ning Oi, our Senior Transport Advisor. Welcome, Ning, and Jacques Victor. Ning, you've been doing some work on this, so I think, will you introduce Ning?
Yep.
Thank you.
Morena Koto. Just a quick presentation on the project before we open up for questions. A little bit of background on the Hamilton to Auckland Corridor Plan. It is a central government initiative that is part of central government's urban growth agenda. And the aim of the project is to unlock growth in the corridor between Hamilton to Auckland, firstly by developing a integrated spatial plan for the corridor, and secondly by developing a longer-term growth management partnership between Mana Whenua, central government and local government for the corridor. The geographical focus of the project is from Cambridge in the south to Papakura to the north. And we came to the Planning Committee in September 2018 to seek endorsement for our participation in the project as a partner. So since September 2018, we've been working with project partners to progress various work streams in the project. A number of workshops were held, and all this culminated in a governance level meeting in February 2019, where governance representatives from partner organizations, including Auckland Council, were presented with two things. Firstly, a proposed partnership framework, and secondly, a draft program of initiatives. And I'm just going to quickly talk about those two things, the partnership side and the program of initiatives. From the partnership perspective, Council currently works on cross-boundary issues with our Waikato partners on a project-by-project basis. The proposed partnership aims to formalize this cross-boundary arrangement by adapting the existing future-proof partnership to deliver the various work streams in the Hamilton to Auckland Corridor Plan. For those of you who don't know, future-proof is the growth management strategy and partnership framework for the Hamilton, Waipa, and Waikato sub-region. It comprises local government authorities in the sub-region and also Mana Whenua. And so the proposal now is to expand future-proof by inviting central government and Auckland Council to participate in the expanded future-proof as associate members. There is also a separate iwi-led process to invite additional Tamaki iwi with an interest in the corridor to join future-proof. And this process is led by Waikato Tainui, and I'm happy to expand on some of the key outcomes of that later. Our recommendation is that Council accepts the invitation to join future-proof as an associate member, subject to a number of conditions. Joining the partnership allows us to formalize the cross-boundary working arrangements that we already have with our project partners and helps us to work in a strategically aligned way with our partners to achieve shared outcomes. The associate membership helps to focus the scope of our involvement, so we're only involved in Auckland-specific initiatives and initiatives that have a cross-boundary impact on Auckland. From the program of initiative side, around 20 or so initiatives have been developed under 5 focus areas under the umbrella of the Hamilton to Auckland Corridor Plan. They range from corridor-wide initiatives such as fast, rapid regional rail to area-specific initiatives such as, for example, focusing on the completion of the Southern Auckland structure plans. Most of these initiatives are existing initiatives or existing initiatives that have been rescoped somewhat, and there are also a few new initiatives. You can see that in attachment D, it shows the project initiatives that council staff have been working on, and we recommend that the committee endorses the scope of council's involvement because they are initiatives that we're already working on or are initiatives that will have a cross-boundary impact on us. So I'll just end with the recommendations, which you can see up there. Firstly, to note the progress update on the Hamilton to Auckland Corridor Plan. Secondly, approve the scope of Council's involvement in the proposed program of initiatives. And thirdly, approve Council's participation in the expanded future-proof partnership as an associate member, subject to a number of conditions. Thank you.
Just a few minutes there, and I'll ask Chief of Strategy. Sorry, I'll ask the Chief of Strategy to reflect on the red amendments.
Thank you, Chair. Just a couple there, and in 4, just adding plans, just to make that really clear. Also, we're suggesting an additional 6, just to reference the work that we're continuing to do around climate change and the impacts on that. We felt it was important that our involvement here in this project references the work, certainly from an Auckland perspective, and ensures that that element is part of the input that we have into this project. So happy to take questions now, Mr. Chair.
So it's moved by Deputy Mayor. Do I have a second, please? Thank you, Councillor Clow. And question from Member Henare.
Kia ora. Thank you for that. 2 really easy questions. 49, well, basically the Māori impact statement. When are we going to include Mātāwaka?
The nature of the partnership is that it is between central government, local government, and mana whenua, so Mātāwaka weren't involved in the initial discussions. It is a central government-led project, and we were just following the scope that they've given us.
So it's government-led, not?
Yes.
Okay, cool. The second easy one is when are passengers going to be able to travel from Hamilton to Auckland?
That is a good question, but not such an easy one to answer. So there is the interim rail project which is the slower version, going from Frankton in Hamilton to Rotorua and then going straight to Papakura. That is a pretty slow version that takes around 2 hours to get from Hamilton to Papakura. That business case has been approved by the New Zealand Transport Agency. They're working through it now, and I think the proposal is for implementation in 2020. With regards to the rapid regional option, I believe an inception meeting is scheduled for mid-April to look at the business case for a faster regional rail service between Auckland to Hamilton and beyond.
How, in your opinion, how hard would it be to stick a train on an existing railway line, the North Island Main Trunk Line, and call it a passenger train? How hard would it be to do that? Or how easy?
My understanding from discussions with Auckland Transport is that there are operational implications of having an additional passenger rail service go from, for example, Hamilton to Papakura, with regards to where the train needs to stop and turn around. So I don't have specific answers as to how hard or easy it would be, but my understanding is that there are operational implications.
And knowing that we have all sorts of container loads coming from Frankton to Auckland and Auckland to Frankton on a daily basis, we can't stick some passenger trains somewhere. I mean, I know you most probably can't answer them, but I suppose you could tell me who could answer that question.
I think Auckland Transport would be best placed to answer that. So they are involved at the governance and technical level in the startup rail study. I'm happy to arrange a meeting.
That's cool. Thank you.
Thank you, Member Henare. And Deputy Mayor Cashmore, please.
Thank you. So this has been a work in progress. It's the instigation of the Minister. We're trying to progress it forward. Prior to this happening, the Frankton Local Board was heavily involved with cross-border work with North Waikato District Council. And I think, Mr. Chair, it's mentioned here about the Franklin Local Board being involved, and the chair of that board, I suggest to be the chair or his or her nominee, just to cover that off, because there's been a couple of people involved in it for historical knowledge context. And the other point I'd note, and it goes to Member Henaray's point, is that what this is doing, this future proof, is illuminating an area that's going to be a big part of Central North Island's growth. And potentially it's taking over 50% of the population, creating 80% of the jobs. And this future proof puts a bit of a brighter light on it, shows up some of the externalities and some of the real troubling issues to label that growth. And we have parts of that main trunk main trunk rail that are a single track, which means that the ability to have passenger express services is basically zero. And when you come to the Auckland context, you have the same thing, because we don't have triple tracking going further enough south. And for all this work to be done, it needs to be coordinated between the two regional areas, including those councils tied up in those areas, to give a comprehensive understanding, especially for Crown expenditure, to time with that, because we have station platforms in the Waikato that don't exist, or not fit for purpose. And we have auxiliary lead-ins and lead-outs that don't exist as well. So there's a whole lot of contingencies there that make it very, very complicated and potentially quite expensive. But it's a good thing. This gives an opportunity to get a good focus on it, a good cross-border collaboration, Mr. Chairman. I know you've been very keen on that for the past, so it's a good step forward, and the Waikato people certainly welcome our involvement.
Okay, so just on the suggestion of the Franklin Local Board chair or alternate, I think that can be dealt with at your first meeting.
Yeah.
And I think there will be, the committee, the Future Proof Implementation Committee would be pretty relaxed about if you were unable, we could provide an alternate, and the same for Franklin Local Board.
Just referencing page 19, Mr.
Chair. Yeah. So I think we're accommodated there. Councillor Wayne Walker, please.
Question about the link, or the possible link, heavy rail to Auckland Airport. Is that inclusive in attachment D under interaction of the service with Auckland's metro and freight networks, etc.?
I don't think so. No, not at this stage.
Does that need to be added? And my reason around the question is the logic of people from Point South being able to access the airport through the rail network.
We can certainly introduce that to the corridor project.
Okay, that'd be great. Thank you.
We can ask for that to be included.
And that has been raised before. Deputy Mayor, that was raised at one of our meetings, and it's outside of the scope of this, but it's the group is very aware of that, because a lot of the evidence, correct me if I'm wrong, Deputy Mayor, showed a desire to transfer at Puhinui. The new Puhinui station was identified through some really good evidence as a future, very busy transfer station to the airport.
I think my question
that is already on the minds of those that.
I think the question I'm raising is, why is it not in scope? Because in respect of attachment D, which is in scope, I would have thought that rail to the airport would have been in scope as part of that. And if so, it's probably just an oversight.
Let's hear from David Hawkey on that one. David, would you mind just...
Look, in terms of the scope, I suppose, I mean, there is my understanding of the project that's not within scope, but in terms of thinking through any rail network between Auckland and Hamilton, you need to think about the wider network. So you need to think through that, whether it's in the scope of the arrangement. I'm not 100% sure of that. Mm.
So it's in the thinking, but not in the scope.
Yes, that's my understanding. Well, I suppose in terms when you do a business case, you do need to think of influence into the wider network. That's what I'm saying.
In the meetings the Deputy Mayor and I have attended when we've been considering the rail project that Ning referred to, we were thinking well beyond Puhinui. We were thinking of impacts at Britomart, third line, fourth line, a whole range of things, even though it was technically beyond scope. It did not limit us to canvassing, and that wasn't just the politicians, that was the technical officers going well beyond the boundaries of so-called scope. So I'm confident that we'll be canvassing them. Councillor Lee.
Pick up the point made by Member Henare, and the response seemed to be that it was kind of too hard, or there is actually a train that runs between Auckland, a passenger train that runs between Auckland and Wellington on Auckland via Hamilton 6 days a week. So that's the Northern Explorer. So it is feasible. However, what I'm concerned about is it's meant to be a corridor study, and there's no mention that I can see at all of the key question of utilising that corridor to the full, and that is electrification. How, is that not in scope either, or have I missed something, or what are we doing? What are we doing about electrification? Because in my personal experience, it takes a lot of leadership and battling to get electrification, and I haven't seen much of it in recent years. So is this council showing any leadership in regard for advocacy for electrification, or are we just sitting back and letting the years roll by and talking about corridors?
David or Ning? Or, sorry, who?
Well, I would just say that it is, the electrification component is in scope, and when you look at attachment D, focus area 1, the regional rail service will be looked at in stages. So the third stage, the kind of rapid option, will have to include electrification. And so that will be considered under the separate business case that the Ministry of Transport is leading, but Auckland Transport and Auckland Council are involved in at various stages in that project.
And again, the Deputy Mayor and I have heard that exact debate raised again by politicians and the technical staff, that has to be looked at. Thanks, Councillor Lee, for the reminder on that. Are there any other questions on this, members? Thank you. And look, there's not a motion there, but we just take it as given. There will be regular reporting back to the committee, and Chief of Strategy will ensure that. I don't think we need the motion, and I'm sure the Deputy Mayor will be wanting to make us all aware of developments. Ning, thanks for your work. David? So it's moved and seconded. Are there any comments, members? There being none, I'll put it to the vote. All those in favour say aye. Aye.